The Isiah Factor Uncensored starts right now.
Many people are pissed off about this policy change by the governor in Texas. Greg Abbott, you all know him, is telling state agencies diversity should not be considered in employment hiring practices. Now, this comes from a memo sent by Abbott's office this week. The memo allegedly says the use of diversity, equity, and inclusion policies violate federal and state employment laws, and hiring cannot be based on factors other than just merit. Let's talk about it. Political analysts Dallas Jones and Angela Box are here tonight on the Factor Uncensored. So, Angela, your thoughts on this policy?
Well, this is a Greg Abbott I love, and in our striving towards a more perfect union and to really embrace the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, we need to be a society that values content of character and merit over color of skin. And the fact of the matter is, these policies, there's equity and then there's equality. And what the left likes to talk about is equity. That's equity, diversity, inclusion. What we really need to be going for is equality. People based on merits getting jobs. And the fact of the matter is, in the last 50 years, when this policy was first started with affirmative action, we are a much more diverse society now. When certainly in Houston, there are as many Hispanics as there are whites. There's as many Asians as there are blacks. So when you discriminate with someone based on color of skin, it really is, it's setting people apart, and that's what the left is very good at. This is a good policy change.
Do you consider considering diversity discrimination?
No, I think what the left does when they talk about diversity, inclusion, and tolerance, it is code word for wokeism. It's code word for we need to make sure that, because this is what the left thinks, these are not my thoughts. The left is saying that black people, brown people, minorities, they're not as good enough, smart enough, capable enough, that we have to give all of these different programs and all of these different ladder rungs to them because they can't compete with white people. That's the bottom line with what the left does believe.
All right, Dallas, let's hear from you.
Hi, I'm the left. and you know, it's interesting to me that, you know, we're living in a day where people are throwing around the words of Dr. Martin Luther King. They're taking aspects of the 1964 Civil Rights Act where it talked about, you know, that people should not be discriminated in the workplace. That's because at the time, people that look like me and you, Isiah, were being discriminated against in the workplace. So when you began to examine equity versus equality, equality would suggest that we all started at the same place at the same time and therefore given the same tools that we should perform equally, where equity suggests that there was already a bias and there was already a playing field that was never leveled, and if you can level that playing field, then we can compete, and in most cases we can compete better than you. Two people that are accustomed to privilege, equality feels like discrimination.
So equity, again, is the code word for we're going to discriminate against people based on the color of their skin. And this is the deal when we talk about diversity hires. We had a tragic case with Tyree Nichols about 3 weeks ago in Memphis. 2 of those police officers were hired specifically as diversity hires because after George Floyd died, the Memphis chief of police said, we're going to hire more black and brown faces so people feel more comfortable interacting with police. Well, guess what? That doesn't always work out. And it's the height of, it is so discriminatory isn't the word I'm looking for. It is insulting to black and brown people.
What is insulting is to listen to people that have actually created discrimination in this country.
What I'm going to ask
talk about is that they're not being treated fairly. That's insulting. That is insulting. People that enslaved people for 400 years talking about we're not fair. Yes, because it existed.
So here's what I'm asking you, Dallas. Who is in control of all urban areas? Who is in control of the entire educational system? It is the Democrat Party. It is the left. If you want to talk about real equality, let's get back to education. As a former educator,
this is a Republican state.
As a former educator, oh yeah, we're talking about blue cities and blue areas. Don't play.
But they don't control the entire education.
So anyway, my point is, as a former educator, the way we get to equality, true equality, true equity, is by educating every child and making sure every child child has a chance.
Okay, go ahead, Dallas.
Well, I mean, I just think at the end of the day, you know, again, we're talking about this idea that people are being discriminated against. You want to talk about educating every child? Well, we'd like to educate every child, but there are systems that are being put in place by people that run the overall state educational system that, frankly, it's not educating every child. Look at the disparities. Look at where they exist. Let's talk about facts, not emotions. I mean, it's good to throw around the political punch words of wokeism and this and that, but when we really want to talk about people being insulted and people not being given an opportunity, we are still experiencing firsts in this country. The first African-American this, the first African-American that. That's not the case for people that are saying they're being discriminated against.
No, it's the case when you have a culture that is dominated by leftists who want to bring race and equity and diversity and tolerance into every single thing, whereas most people on a day-to-day basis do not discriminate against people based on race, do not discriminate against anybody. The fact that your side is so hell-bent on dividing people based on race, it proves that you will never be able to move on and never embrace what Dr. King believed.
We divided people based on race.
Yes, you did.
Fascinating.
100%. Your side, 100%.